Hello, Jolie. Welcome to our coffee chat. How are you?
I'm great, Melissa. I'm so glad to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. For those who haven't met you yet, tell us a little bit about yourself and your business.
Sure. So my name is Jolee Vacchi. I am the founding attorney of Foundations Family Law and Mediation Center. We are based in Worcester, Massachusetts, but we practice all over the state of Massachusetts from central to eastern Mass. I'm also licensed in Rhode Island, so I dabble in Rhode Island family law as well. But we do everything family law related. So our bread and butter really is divorce and custody issues. I'm a certified mediator, so I love mediating with parties, whether it's through divorce or custody issues. And our philosophy is we resolve family law conflicts as painlessly and peacefully as possible because those issues are inherently stressful enough. So we're not already trying to add fuel to the fire of, stressful situations.
Yeah, I love that. You often talk about compassionate clarity. Can you talk about what that actually looks like in practice?
Yeah, so we try to create, we call it a one-stop shop for holistic divorce in Massachusetts. And what that looks like is we have a really exceptional group of vetted professional divorce partners that we have in our network. So when a client comes to us, they're not only getting access to, an attorney or a mediator, but in our group, we have a certified divorce financial analyst. So they help you with budgeting and projecting out to your future. And they're really great with helping us evaluate different settlement proposals and like taking into account the tax, implications of those. Because as divorce attorneys, like, we know the basics of financials, but we're not tax professionals. So they help us fill in those gaps. We have relationships with divorce coaches and co parenting coaches because divorce touches every aspect of your life. And so filling in those emotional gaps and helping you navigate the difficulties of all those co-parenting challenges comes up repeatedly. So we have those professionals in our network. We have appraisers for, if you're thinking about whether to do a buyout or to sell your house. We just have all of these amazing professionals surrounding us. So we can just call them in when they're needed and you don't need to go out and vet people on your own. You're already surrounded with this network of support. And so we lead with compassion because, like I said, this is a deeply emotional time and it touches every aspect of your life. And divorce is also a very lengthy process. And so we're going to be with you for the long haul. And you want to be able to be open and honest with your divorce professionals because we need to know all those details. We don't want to be blindsided by them in court, right? And so we want to build this rapport and this trustful relationship with you. And so we lead with compassion and empathy to be able to develop that deep bond with you.
I wish my mom had this service when she was going through her divorce. I'm sure you've created some of this along the way, this model. It's not probably not something that you had a model of to create, right? So tell us
Mhm.
a little bit about that, like how you came up with your model, what inspired you?
Yeah. So I worked at more of like I would call it a traditional family law firm before I started my own practice as an entrepreneur. And it was very, I don't know how to describe it, just like typical like litigation focus. So we're in court, and it's hard because in family court, in order to win and to make yourself look better, you kind of have to throw dirt on the other party. Like that's how it is. It's adversarial. It's about you versus me, and that's how it's set up to be. But what does that do for families in the long run? Because most of the parties that we deal with are parents, and so one day the trial, the litigation is going to be behind you, and you're still going to have to raise these little human beings together, and that doesn't set you up well for that co-parenting relationship. And so I was really drawn more to a settlement-minded, resolution process. In law school, like I said, I became a certified mediator, and I really resonated with that model because it's sitting down at a table with both parties and you hash it out. And, to be honest with you, when you go go into court, nobody ever gets exactly what they want. The judge is trying to do their best and, they're making compromises of their own, but nobody gets a perfect outcome. And at least when you're in mediation or you're negotiating a settlement between attorneys, you're choosing the terms of your divorce. You're choosing what's going to happen with your money, what's going to happen with your home, and what's going to happen with your kids. And you're not taking that gamble with a judge who's a stranger. And, they're doing the best they can, but let's call it what it is. They're human, they make mistakes, they have too many cases and not enough time. And so, as I was at that other firm and seeing what the family court process was doing to these families and kind of just like churning out these cases, that wasn't feeling good to me as a person, as a mother. And I really started to lean in heavily to these settlement oriented processes. And I wanted to set up a firm that was where we started from. Not all cases can be resolved in these ways, but if we start out with the intention of that, I think that brings a lot of, it sets the intention for the process. And sometimes we have to use court for some temporary orders or to get some like ground rules and expectations. But in a lot of cases, once those are in place, we can again return to the settlement process. Because the majority of cases, 95% of them do not go to trial. So are we going to settle now, or are we going to spend tens of thousands of dollars and heartache and time, or are we going to settle later? So that's the kind of culture in the firm that I wanted to start, and I'm happy that I have.
I love that. And you have a tiered service structure, which I find unique and also helps make you more approachable. Why was it important for you to build flexibility into your legal model?
Thank you for asking. Legal services are not cheap. I'll be the first to say it. Like lawyers, we have to go to school for a long time. We have a lot of student debt, and that comes out in our service pricing. And so, like a typical divorce retainer, if you want to retain an attorney for full service representation, including us, is $5,000. And often you can expect a traditional litigated divorce to be, I don't know, $12 to $15,000 with minimal contested issues. It can go much further than that, much greater than that if you have a lot of issues. But that's not an inexpensive, that's a big chunk of change. So we also have two other options that we offer. We have something called consulting and drafting services. That's where we help you draft all of your pleadings you need to file in court, and we help you strategize in the background. We're available for unlimited conversations, but you're representing yourself in court. So that's a lower retainer. That's usually about 2,500. And then it's very important to me that legal services are available to everybody, regardless of budget. And so we also created this third tier, and it's called flat fee drafting services. And so this is really a kind of like menu of different parts of your divorce or your custody case where you need to, file a document for court, but you don't know how to do it. So we will draft that for you. So for example, it could be your financial statement, which sounds easy, but it's a very detailed document. And it's super important because if you misrepresent yourself in court, that could get you in a lot of trouble. So we will help you with your financial statement, draft it for you, and you file it. And that also includes a half-hour consultation with an attorney. So we have clients who come to us and, they'll do a flat fee drafting service, one or two pieces, and then they decide, maybe I'm going to move up to consultation and drafting. So it's really kind of like a pick your own adventure. What do you need? And I really thought it was important to have an like I said, an easy access point for people to come in and at least get some professional legal advice. Because for most people, a divorce is the largest financial contract, if not one of the largest, that they'll enter into in their entire lives. So it's very important that they get some professional advice going through this process.
Absolutely. You also created the Demystifying Divorce Guide. What prompted you to make that resource accessible before someone even hires you?
Yeah, so that is a labor of love that I made. It's a free ebook that people can download. You just have to give your email for us. And it talks about the whole process in divorce in the state of Massachusetts specifically. So there's two types of divorce in Massachusetts, an uncontested path and a contested path. So we talk about the pros and cons of both paths. And then we talk about the different options that you can use to get there. So like I talked about, there's traditional litigation, then there is mediation. There's something called collaborative law. So, when people think about getting divorced, a lot of time, all they're familiar with is the court model. But I want them to be aware that there's these different entry points. And the way that you choose to resolve your divorce, like I was talking about earlier, can really have a big impact on how you have your relationship with your co parent moving forward. So I want this information to be accessible to people even before they hire us. And then that will help them, to kind of get to know our style, our vibe, and we have free discovery calls. So hopefully, at the end of the day, that'll invite them in to want to talk to us, and hopefully schedule a consultation with us.
It's a great way to segue into this next line of questioning about visibility. You really position yourself to show up as a guide through this, the way that you've done your demystifying divorce like ebook, and you have very clear tiers of your service model. What does it mean to you to be seen not just as a lawyer, but as a guide?
I mean, it's so important to me. It's one of my main priorities. I want to educate people about the family court process because you would think that because so many people have, some experience with family court at some point in their lives or know somebody who's been through it, that this information would be accessible, but it's really not. And so I spend a lot of my time offering free education. And so I do this. I have a podcast that's called Divorce Detox. And so that's on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We have over 80 episodes. And I co host that with my dear friend, Lisa Happ, who's an exceptional divorce coach. So I have that platform. And then I'm also part of this incredible organization called Vesta Divorce. And they also have lots of free educational offerings. And I volunteer my time and I do 2 free educational webinars per month that people can pop in, and it's completely confidential. And we have a range of topics that we present on every month. Because, like I said, these issues, they are so personal to people. Like I said, your children, your housing, your money, these issues are too important not to have professional guidance. And so I want that information to be accessible to people, to at least have an entry point to get to know trusted people that they can reach out to. So it is such a priority of mine to get out there and get this information to people.
And how does being visible in trusted communities change the way that women approach reaching you?
I think, well, know, like, and trust, right? Like, that's the biggest thing. That gives them the courage to pick up the phone or to send me an email to reach out for help. Because I'll be honest, Melissa, a lot of times when women are contacting us, it's not just because they woke up and thought, I want to get a divorce today. They have been contemplating this for months, if not years.
Mhm.
And there's so many stories that we have in our own minds and in society about why we should stay in our marriages because of children, because of financial resources, because of society's pressures that if you get divorced, it seems as a failure. And so it's incredibly brave to reach out to a divorce attorney and to give them a little bit of a taste that I'm a real person and I care about you and I'll help you. That gives them, I think, that courage to make that first call to us. And so I think it's so important. It's vital.
And there's so many networking groups and networking events out there. Was so grateful when you chose to participate in Greater Boston Women's Impact Network in our Red Sox offer to show up at the VIP suite and then have this visibility experience in our group. What made you decide to lean into that opportunity?
Well, number one, because you were leading it. And so I just love to support you. The Boston Red Sox VIP suite, yes. Also, because I wanted to be in a room of other badass entrepreneurs who want to make a difference in this world. Like, I wanted to have those conversations with those type of women. So it was an exceptional event. I don't know, it was, what was it, 6 months ago now? And I'm still thinking about it. I'm thinking about the energy in that room and how like high vibe it was and how excited I was and just those conversations I had with every single female entrepreneur there, it just exceeded my expectations. It was a fabulous day.
Thank you so much. What does proximity in rooms like Fenway and other networking events actually do for credibility and connection for you?
So much. I mean, this is how I've built my business from the ground up. My business is, we're turning 3 years old this year. And I built this as a referral based business. And how I did it was connecting with female entrepreneurs, really having those genuine, authentic connections so that people would trust me to refer their friends, their families, their clients to me because they know that they would be in good hands. So this is the cornerstone of how I've built my business.
I want to touch on the hard stuff too, because I've seen the pushback on you as you become more and more visible. There's the people who show up and say negative things. Would you like to have a message for that? Because I love how you continue to just combat that. It doesn't hold you back. You continue to show up and you continue to be visible because that's just so important.
Yeah, I mean, once you have a hater, you've really made it, right? And like I got my first 1 star review and I was like, that's okay. That means we are here. We have arrived. And like I was saying, society doesn't like women to get divorced. This is a patriarchal society that we lived in, that we still live in. And so I love to share this story, but we were approached to do advertising with a local school. They wanted to have banners at their football stadium. So we were like, great. We paid. They printed the banner. It said, call a peaceful divorce is a call away. I mean, how much more, I don't know, tolerable, palatable can you make divorce seem? And the Booster Club president wrote us shortly after our banner was printed and said that they got pushback and they were going to refund us and they didn't want to hang our banner. And I'm just like, really? Like, what? The D word? You can't put the D word in front of children and families in the stand. Like, divorce saves lives. Like, I've seen this time and time again. And, statistically speaking, at least half of the children in those audiences come from divorced homes or, have unmarried parents or live with grandparents or other, family members. I mean, untraditional families are becoming more and more of the norm. And if you can't even have a sign that says peaceful divorce, I mean, like it's crazy. So, I mean, I just continue to show up because I know how much divorce can save and change women and children's lives. And if, I ruffle a few feathers in the process, then I know I'm doing my job.
I just think about how valuable it would have been if both my brother and I, we played sports and our parents were there and they were planning a divorce in the background. Like if they had a senior sign about planning how to navigate a peaceful divorce, like what a difference that would have made in our family's lives and like creating less trauma for everyone involved. And
Yeah.
I'm super grateful for what you do. I think, obviously divorce is not where we want to be in our lives ever. I hope I never have to in a million years. Like it's not on my radar. I always think twice when I'm also promoting you because I don't want anybody to think that like I'm planning to divorce my husband.
Mhm.
So it's kind of a funny approach of like, okay, I really want to support Jolee and what she's doing, but I also don't want anybody to think like I'm getting a divorce. But
Yeah. I get it. You know what? I'm a happily married divorce attorney. Like, and people say they have this like idea of me that I'm like pro divorce, and that couldn't be further from the truth. I am pro healthy and happy marriages, and I have such the privilege of being in that kind of a relationship, and I want everyone to experience that. But the women that are coming to me are not in that type of a relationship. They are unfortunately are in a dynamic where they're not supported. They're carrying the invisible burden of child, rearing and the house care, house responsibilities by themselves. They're asking for help and they're not getting it. And so it's not like I want people to get divorced. I want them to be in good, stable, healthy marriages.
Exactly, exactly. And I'm just so grateful that I have your contact information ready in my cell phone to pass off to someone who is in a difficult situation and who needs your support. So,
Thank you. Thank you.
if you could leave one final message for our audience, what would it be?
I would say that divorce is not a failure. It's an act of radical self-care. And you are really courageous. And if it's something that you're contemplating right now, it's nothing that you should be ashamed of. You should be really proud of yourself. And also, you don't need permission from anyone to get divorced. You don't need your spouse's permission, your parents, anybody's. The only permission you need is your own, and you have the ability to give that to yourself.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jolie.
Thank you, Melissa.